of these stupid things, or the crack addict to go out and steal from people to support his habit. I was at a function just last week, a fundraiser for Teen Challenge, and there was a fellow who had a $1,200 a day habit. Now, think about that. $1,200 a day. What's the simple math on it? Let's say it's $1,000 a day. That's $365,000 a year. So let's say, we're talking about 20% of that. That's about $400,000 a year. That's about $400,000 a year. Now, I doubt that he was making $400,000.
It's impressive. He got both Teixeira and A-Rod 4 times. Well, that is... I don't understand it. They've struck out in both trips to the plate.
Yeah.
Mortgage experts. They look at all the options available for you. I was approved over the phone. I closed in 10 days, and Equity now gave me a great deal. If you need a loan for debt consolidation, business investment.
In the National Guard, so your college is completely paid for. Yes, you've mentioned it.
And now let's see what it looked like before I pulled it out of the dump. This is my very first antique radio. I got this one for free from the landfill. Really a shame. This is a 1952 or 51 General Electric model 422 table radio. It has some very obvious cosmetic blemishes. This tape will come off. I can get that off, no problem. But right here, it looks like it got too close to a candle or something and it melted. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do about that. But I found an identical unit for $9 on eBay with a perfectly good housing, so maybe I'll go ahead and buy another one just for the parts. But this is a pretty cool, definitely 1950s plastic. It's a marbleized finish. It looks really cool. I can't wait to clean it up and see what it looks like then. This is a translucent plastic dial. It's a little yellowed. Maybe that could be intentional. The knobs, they're quite dirty. I'm not sure if they were ever painted at one time or if that's just dirt, but I'll have to clean those up. And yes, it does work. Go ahead and turn it on. It has an illuminated dial, position indicator. And it has a very loud hum. You can hear it now. This is with the volume turned all the way down. So I gotta figure out what that's all about. Probably capacitors or something.
You need to enjoy the beginning of the game, but also, if not, and they lose.
On sale now. McLean's. Make sense of it all.
So obviously it does function to a certain extent. So I might be looking at just a couple of capacitors to replace, and who knows what else. I'll put it back here. A portion of the label is still intact, but not all of it. At least the model is there, so I can see that. It's just a basic, typical 1950s radio with a fiberboard back, a steel chassis, and a very flimsy outer shell. These early plastic sets are not known for durability. Longevity maybe, but not durability. I mean, after all, this thing is about 55 years old and it still runs. That says something. So I'm going to clean it up and see what happens. Okay, I've slid the chassis out of the housing. Let's take a good look at what we've got here. Okay. I do know that the volume knob has an idler pulley for the tuning dial indicator, which has a light built into it. by turning this knob, I've noticed that it also turns the volume control shaft. So some lubrication will be needed on that pulley right there. Here is the tuner itself. This is only an AM set, so it's a fairly simple unit. There's not a whole lot going on here. It uses a gear reduction. I noticed that this had been slipping, this string here, so I'm going to have to do something about that. Alright. Okay. Everything seems to work as normal. Let's take a look at the bottom cover. The dial, by the way, is pretty discolored. You can see that this is what color it's supposed to be, and it's faded to an orange color. Now, because it's acrylic or some form of plastic, there's no way to reverse that. Alright, taking a look underneath the chassis. This, by the way, is what electronics looked like before circuit boards took over. Pretty jumbled mess of stuff under here. These capacitors are the wax-coated paper tube type. They have a very high failure rate, especially in these old sets. It's obvious that some of them do still function. The set definitely has potential. I mean, I can make this run like new again, I'm sure. Clean up the chassis and reassemble it, and I can make a nice radio out of this. But, you know, it's got some spider webs in it. Just a miracle that it actually works. I mean, I'm happy to see that. I don't see a date of production anywhere. I don't even have the serial number. Alright, after about maybe an hour or so worth of cleaning and preparation, this is what the chassis looks like now. I the dial as best I could. Took every tube out, cleaned it with Windex, polished them up, cleaned the board here. Used a toothbrush to get underneath these brush to clean up inside between the cracks and everything. I blew out the tuner itself and wiped down the whole thing. Anyway, the tuning dial issue I was having was caused by this shaft. The lubrication was completely dried up in it, and the slider here was all caked with worn out old grease. So I cleaned off the grease. I'm going to apply a thin coat of new lithium grease, and I oiled the shaft and all the bushings, and it moves quite nicely now, much better than it did before. And it no longer turns the volume knob as it rotates, which is what it was doing. So really all that's left now is to figure out what that hum is, place whatever component that's causing it, or components, and it'll be a running unit again. I cleaned the housing up as best I could. It actually shines now. And I cleaned inside the grill here, coated it with Armor All. It brought the shine right back. Of course it's still melted, but it's not really all that bad. I'm really wondering what caused that. Okay, this is what it looks like all back together again. Nice and clean.